Hello everybody, and welcome back to Screen Stars. Here is my review for Logan, the third and final outing for Hugh Jackman in his solo Wolverine movies. Just a warning in advance, I probably will do some minor spoilers, but I won't do any major stuff, like ruin endings and things like that, or major plot points. But this film isn't to be confused for anybody that does know the Old Man Logan story. As you can see on screen now, I found like this concept poster, if you like. Um, it The only real connection with the Old Man Logan comic here is the fact that Hugh Jackman and Logan is older in this movie and broken down. Other than that, there is no connection. So even though I don't think many of you will be, don't go into this movie thinking that you're getting Old Man Logan, because you're not. Would be pretty cool if we did get that one day, but we haven't got it in this movie. So, Logan, what's it about? Well, it's set in, I believe it's the year 2029. Logan is much older, is broken down. He is basically the adamantium in his body is slowly poisoning him, and he's not in a good way health wise. He's like doing like dodgy deals on the back streets. He works as like a limo driver, and he does dodgy deals to get like medication for Charles Xavier, Patrick Stewart, whom he is looking after out in the desert. I think it's in Mexico. And the reason he's looking after him is that Charles Xavier is suffering from a degenerative brain disorder. It doesn't really tell you what in the movie, it just hints. And he, some years earlier, had a seizure. When he has these seizures, his powers are uncontrollable, and he can seriously hurt and kill people in his vicinity. And that's what happened some years earlier. And it even says that, or it hints at in a couple of news stories, that some of the X-Men were killed in one of these episodes when he had one of these seizures. So Wolverine obviously survived that because of his healing powers, and he's now looking after Charles. And Charles is almost senile, but he does have lucid moments. But also with him is another mutant called Caliban, played by Stephen Merchant, who is helping Wolverine to care for Charles Xavier, for Professor X. And that triangle works really quite well. There's some good banter going on between them. Hugh Jackman's grumpy as hell as Logan. But thrown into the mix here is like there's this nurse that's trying to seek out Logan to get his help, basically. And he initially completely rejects her. But eventually it turns out that she is a nurse from like this research facility who has got a mutant girl who has got very, very similar powers to Wolverine, mutant wise, but she wasn't created naturally. She was like grown in a lab almost, if you like, and experimented on. And she and a lot of other nurses rescued a lot of mutant children from this lab. And she wants Logan's help to take this girl to a place called Eden, which is like a sanctuary for mutants somewhere on the other side of the country. He reluctantly agrees, mainly because he thinks it's going to get him some money, but he soon learns that he has a real connection to this little girl. And Charles Xavier is basically encourages him very heavily to help. So they end up going on this kind of road trip to go and find this Eden, and along the way there's like this research company, I think the Reapers they're called, are trying to track them down, and they're using Caliban against them to track them. And that is essentially the story here. Now, what they've given us here is what everyone's always been asking for with Wolverine. They've given us an R-rated, no holds barred approach here, and for the most part, it absolutely pays off. This is a tremendous movie, superbly acted by everybody involved. And I think Hugh Jackman here, it's borderline Oscar worthy. His performance, it's very very emotional and impactful. The performance that he gives as Logan, and it's a very very serious drama in a lot of ways. Um, and it could very well stand on its own. If no X-Men movie had ever been made and they just made this, it would very easily stand on its own. The main problem I have with this movie is I think it kind of is slightly disrespectful to the previous X-Men movies that have come before it. It does tip its hat occasionally to them, um, but I think it sacrificed a lot of what has come before to deliver what it's giving us in this movie, and that's fine because what they're giving us works. Um, I think they tried something similar with the first Wolverine movie, Origins, and that failed miserably. Whereas this time they've got it right. A lot has been said about the violence in this movie, and it is very, very violent, but I don't think it's as gratuitous as some people may be making out. And I don't think it is as gratuitous as certainly as Deadpool. It's not as graphic as that, I don't think, even though there are limbs getting lobbed off and lots of blood. I think it's like a step up from what we got in the Wolverine, which was reasonably violent too. But overall, I really do highly recommend this movie. It is a top-notch movie, and you kind of struggle to describe it as a superhero movie because it doesn't feel like one. It feels like an action drama with superhero like the third element here. So essentially, what I'm saying is that while this is a comic book movie at its roots and a superhero movie at its roots, it is not the highest consideration here to this movie. If you've never seen a superhero movie before or a comic book movie, don't let that put you off in seeing this movie because you really are denying yourself a superbly made movie that is superbly acted, some great action set pieces with comic book and superhero elements sprinkled in. So I think this is a top movie, and I think this is going to be a hard superhero comic book movie to top this year.